Hey everybody, Rob here from the Off-Grid Tiny House. In this video, it's just a speed run of the work I did on preparing for the new lithium battery that I ordered for the Off-Grid Tiny House. So here I'm working on some 0 AWG wire for the inverter, and I originally was planning to use this heavy gauge wire for those AGM batteries that never materialized because the store never phoned me back. But I had to really use my tool here to really reef on this thing to get it to go. So I figured out, I got a block of scrap 2x4 out of my wood burning collection here. You'll see it show up shortly. And I had to use it as leverage to try to push down on it. Here we go here. And it worked out okay doing that. And that way it didn't damage the plastic table or anything like that. But I had to keep messing around with the roll, so I figured, yeah, I put the just some tape on so the wire wouldn't separate from the metal terminal I just put on, the lug. They call them lugs, L-U-G-S. And so I'm basically just figuring out here how to put a shutoff in line to the positive connection of my pure sine wave inverter. Because when you connect an inverter normally to your power supply, you'll always get a spark because of Ohm's law when you connect. So to eliminate that and to have something to be able to shut off the inverter with, it's nice to have a inline switch, heavy duty DC switch to use in this case. So I went ahead and rigged all that up, and coming up here shortly you get to see the rest of this. I did have to trim off a few strands of that copper, as you could see, just to get it to fit into those lugs, but it worked out fairly well. And then I coming up here, I figured out with the shutoff, there's actually a door on the shutoff that I could take off. That way I didn't have to feed it in both directions. I'll mention it once it shows up on the video here. But here we go, me just tightening up the lug to the positive side of the inverter. Make sure everything's nice and cozy. No loose connection, so we don't have arcing and a mess going on. But yeah, it turned out fairly well. And then I have to still, when the battery arrives, figure out where I'm going to mount the inverter, how long a wire do I need, etc., etc. But we'll get to that in a future video. And if you guys want me to go over in detail anything you see here, let me know in the comments. I'll try to explain it or shoot a separate video for you. But it's pretty basic. There's a lot of videos out there on YouTube. This is just how I did mine. And then this little plastic cover is basically for my type of inverter. It's a Motomaster pure sine wave 1000 watt inverter, and continuous 1000. It's not very big, but it's plenty for what I need any inverter for at the tiny house. So here I'm just closing up any potential arcing with some red electrical tape. Any exposed metal of the lug there I want to cover up. That way when I put that plastic covering back on, everything's kind of contained and no chance of, you know, having the positive touch the negative and dead shorting anything out. Because they do make the terminals so damn close together, which I really can't figure out. You think you'd want to separate them and then maybe have the ground where the negative terminal is, as opposed to, you can see the negative terminal over on the far left hand side is the small little thing sticking out there. That's the ground for the inverter. So you think they would have swapped positions, but engineers and manufacturers are funny that way. So you just got to be careful and do little added steps like I show here. So I think coming up, yeah, here we go. I go ahead and I show what's it gonna look like with being connected to the switch. So let's go ahead and look at that. There it is.